Islanders, wild campers, welcome back to another video. You guys have requested I do a gear video for my winter wild camping gear, so here it is. Got shelters, sleep mats, cook systems, everything that I use in the winter to wild camp. I'm not a gear lord. You don't need to be bloody funded by Donald Trump for half of this gear. So I hope it helps somebody out, and happy camping. Let's get to it. Starting off with sleep systems. This is just the inner, but this is the Nature Hike LOADOUT 2 upgraded version, which is a 2-man backpacking tent. It's quite light. I put the weight on the screen and a few other details. You can tell it's the upgraded version because it's got the Y piece on the back. This thing has been in some pretty gnarly conditions with me and has always stood up very well. The reason I use this for winter and not this one here, which is my other tent, which is the OEX Fox 2. Love that tent, did a review about that one. Actually gave one away on the channel. But this one here, in winter wild camping, you spend a lot of time in darkness. You can fully sit up in this tent. Bags of room. Love it. I did use it this summer without the fly, the outer sheet, just like that, and it was mega for looking at the stars. You can get these from AliExpress and Amazon. Nature Hike, pretty good brand. You just got to be a little bit careful now and then because their quality control is a bit sketchy. This tent here, a few little stitching imperfections, but other than that, absolutely mega piece of kit. Right, moving on. The DD Nest multicam hammock. I love hammock camping. There's nothing quite like being off the ground. This thing here, I've used quite a lot. I quite like the enclosed look. You can get these just like open with mesh at the top, but as a bit of a stealth camper, I do quite like it. But you will freeze your arse off if you don't put some sort of underquilt underneath. And that's where this comes in handy. This is a pack mule Wooby, which is basically just a blanket with some tie-offs. So I use it for different things. But throw it under there, job's a good one. I haven't brought my sleeping bag today, but I use the OEX Evolution 400. It's a 4-season sleeping bag. I've used it in -3 and it's been pretty goddamn good. Love tarp camping. A lot of people don't like it in the winter, but actually I think it's better in the winter because less bugs. You can do a bloody multitude of setups with the tarp. This one here is the multicam, just like the hammock. So if it's winter, raining, I can always set that up above it, or use like a plough formation or a tarp tent. Tutorial for a tarp tent on this channel, should you want to see that. British Army or British military Gore-Tex Bivvy bag. Really nice bit of kit. Keep meaning to upgrade the tie handle, but this thing here I've used in some horrendous conditions, and as long as you use a bit of insulation like the mats I've got here, which I'll talk about shortly, you'll be absolutely fine. I camped under a tree with this thing in a storm. Got absolutely pissed on with the rain and I was perfectly dry. There's no zip down the side or anything, so if you need the toilet in the night, you've actually got to climb all the way out, climb all the way back in. Top tip, hand warmers or little hot water bottles, chuck them in the bottom. You won't get cold feet. Okay, right. Moving on to mats then. So I've got quite a few different types of mats here. You'll see. Some of them I recommend, some of them I do not. You'll see that there's inflatables and some closed cell foam. Off the bat, this is probably my favourite closed cell foam one. It's the Thermarest Ridge Rest. I've used this on various occasions, sleeping in sort of bushcrafty style camps. It's not very thick, but I found it perfectly comfortable. No problem. If you combine this with an inflatable, it's even better. The only thing is, limitation is, it only rolls up, which is why I have this one, because this one folds up a little bit nicer. This is the 3FUL gear one. This is from AliExpress. Wasn't expensive at all. It's foil back, so it does retain some heat. Nice bit of kit. Obviously, I wouldn't take both of these. Then, sort of gold standard here, we've got the NeoAir Thermarest. It sounds like a packet of crisps, but it has an excellent R rating, and when it is absolutely freezing, and we're talking about snow, ice, like real cold, I will use this, because if you guys don't know, a decent sleeping bag is always handy, but if you're not insulated through the ground, you're going to lose all your heat anyway. This is just a multi-mat, a little small one, which I use for kneeling when I'm cooking normally. And then this here, it's Trichology Luft UL80, 10 centimeters thick, really good, because if you're like me, you're a side sleeper. However, no R rating. Use this on its own. You'll be cold, but I will combine this with something like that, and it's absolutely fine. Works really nice with the Bivvy bag as well. Now, I do camp with my dogs every now and then, and this here has been a little gem. It's a One Tigris K9 dog camping mat. It's fairly water resistant. It's quite thick, and it's got some straps at the top here for clipping it all nicely to your pack or whatever. But my dogs love this. It's been in some minging conditions, washes quite well, more than happy. You'll also notice I've got a camp chair here. Not a big user of camp chairs, but that thing there folds up to absolutely nothing. I'll put the name on the screen because I can't remember. But in winter, when the ground's sodden and you just want to sit down and have a brew. Now, those who know I'm into stealth camping, I quite often carry camo netting with me, just for that added addition. This here is British Army Mark IV Woodland issue camo netting. You can get them in multitude of sizes. The military use them for hiding Land Rovers, creating discreet areas, but I've used it over tents in the past, and it's been absolutely fantastic on the stealth front. Weighs nothing, packs up really small. Alright, so cook systems then. Appreciate this is a bit of a whistle-stop tour. First things first, the almighty Jetboil. Yeah, quite overpriced in my opinion for what they actually are, but it's never let me down. It's robust. I've got a mate who's had his for about 10 years and it's still going strong. My flash starter doesn't work, which I'm a bit annoyed about, but other than that, mega bit of kit. Just use the right gas. This stuff here has been pretty good, to be honest, the performance stuff. I don't carry one this big, not generally, quite small, will fit in here. But when it's really cold, make sure you've got the right gas. Now, when I'm not using the Jetboil, or I want to be a bit more relaxed and I want a fire, I'll use this. It's the One Tigris Titanium Devil Eye stove. If you've watched any of my camp videos, this features quite a lot. There's nothing like having a bit of a flame for morale. And I quite often cook on it. I cooked some mega steaks on this on one of my last kayak camps. Can't say enough for this. It wasn't expensive, weighs very little, always handy to have. But if I'm using something like that, generally I'll have something like this, which is a titanium cook pot. Again, you can boil water with this, which is useful for the likes of these, which is the meals, dehydrated meals or whatever, or just having a brew. These are my two favourite brands of meals. You got Wayfarer, probably the best, and then Expedition Foods. I like these because they are mega on the calorie front. I also quite often use the British Army 24-hour ration packs. They're not bad, as long as you don't mind being constipated for a few days afterwards. My other cook system is a Trangia, which is an alcohol stove. This will never let you down. However, you do need to carry the fuel with you, which I do carry in here. You can buy the set like this with all the different pans and attachments, but quite often I will just use this on its own with just a cheap little stand from Amazon. Really good bit of kit. The amount of times I've forgotten this, which is the spork. It's just a standard titanium spork, but really good for getting deep into the ration packs. And also, if you forget this, you can always just use a tent peg like I do all the time. And then just a enamel mug, won't break. Storm matches, use various brands. These probably aren't the best by Life Systems, but they've saved my bacon a couple of times. That time I camped under a tree in a absolute howling storm. I needed to get a flame going, especially when my Jetboil's flash starter doesn't work. You can't go wrong with these, they always start. So if you guys use anything else, let us know in the comments. A bit of lighting now. I'm a bit of a head torch nerd. I love them. I've probably got about 5 different head torches. I use this one at the moment. It's just a cheap OEX 150 lumen Cree head torch, 3 AA batteries. You can get rechargeable ones and all that. I've got plenty of others, but for £11, that's pretty good, isn't it? I've got a Night Searcher one, which is far better, but it's heavier and has a separate battery pack, which I don't always want to use. I use a Euro Hike light, which sits In here, it's rechargeable via USB. Don't know where that is actually. Thought I had it with me. And then these are amazing. It's the Furehand Storm Lantern. It runs on lamp oil, paraffin, kerosene. My little guard is missing on mine around the glass, but it's never let me down. Really good bit of kit. Take a bit of getting used to loading the wicks, etc., but really nice to just hang off a tree and bring in the night. You can spend a lot of time in darkness. Blades wise, I use this most of the time. It's a Leatherman Wave. There's newer iterations of it, but certainly if you're using just like little stoves and that, and you just want to chop up a little bit of tiny wood, it's not bad. If you're looking for something a bit more meaty, I'm going to put it on the screen. I use a Mozzie Oak, which costs absolutely nothing for what it is. It's amazing. Tiny little folding saw. I've yet to try a Stihl or a Laplander one, which is probably better. And then I use a Mora knife, full tang, which is really useful for doing any sort of bushcrafty stuff. Now this here, this is my IFAC or individual first aid kit. It's in a 1 Tigris pouch. Now I made this myself. I did a video on this, but unfortunately YouTube took it down because they said I was inciting dangerous behaviour because I was doing some parachuting at the time. But anyway, in here I have a Cat 7 tourniquet. I have some Celox hemostatic granules, which is developed in Afghanistan for gunshot wounds, an Israeli bandage, and various dressings, micropore tape. I also have tick tweezers in there, which you're not going to need this time of year, but for me personally, with the paramotoring and other things that I do, I don't need a plaster or a triangular bandage. I want to try to stop a catastrophic bleed, but probably won't happen on a winter wild camp. You never know, always be prepared. Microfiber towel, just small, doesn't take up any room. I'm quite a fan of doing a bit of cold water therapy. If I see a stream or something, as long as it's fairly safe and stagnant, I'll have a dip, dry off with that. As far as clothing goes, I do get asked quite a lot about my boots, and these are my sort of 2 go-tos. I use these Salomon GTX X something Pros. They're pretty good. And then these are my Mendel MFS boots. I've had these for years. They've got a Vibram sole and they're thermally insulated. They're probably the best footwear I own. They're like slippers. As far as pants go, I use the Revolution Race GTX in olive green. And then jacket wise, I either use a Berghaus or North Face down jacket with a through dark Zodiac. It's quite expensive, but it's unbelievably good. So there we go, guys. Oh, hang on. Backpack wise, I use the Berghaus Crusader 90+20. You can attach these rocket packs to the side. Nothing fancy, but it is pretty much bomb proof. And then I use this, which is a 511 Tactical Rush. It's a 55 litre backpack, but it's got millions of little compartments. This is probably my favourite backpack out of all. It's so comfortable. It's got loads of different, you can pull, it's got hip belts and all that coming here with different zips, etc. But like I say, I'm not going to bore you with that. Very good. What we'll say about using backpacks, etc. I quite often line them with a dry bag because your gear gets absolutely soaking otherwise. Or individual items, put them in dry bags like your sleep system, sleep gear. Some items I haven't covered: thermals, socks, hand warmers. I carry lots of different things depending. Camera gear, you name it, it's normally all here. I won't carry all of this in one camp, hence why I can put it all in a smaller backpack. So there we go, guys. Appreciate you watching. Some gear I would like to get my hands on is a floating tent, so you could tie it off to a mooring and float, camp for the night on that. And also hot tent camping interests me. You might notice I don't have any water purification gear either. That's something I'll probably look at in the future. But there you go, very quick blast through my winter wild camping gear. If you've got any questions about any of the gear, give us a shout. I'm pretty receptive in the comments. And yeah, stay tuned for the next wild camp, which shouldn't be too far away. On the next one, guys, cheers.